so for today we're still looking at tangent segments. Yesterday we looked at the length. I said that the two tangent segments were equal to each other. Today we're looking at the angles. So interesting part of the angles is that a radius in a tangent segment, they will always cross at 90 degrees. So if I look at the other radius and the tangent segment, they cross at 90 degrees as well. Not only do they cross at 90 degrees, but since I know the top two sides are equal, because they're both radius, or so radii, I know they're equal. I know the tangent segments are equal, so I'm dealing with a kite. Right, so I have a kite. Now, I know the kite, the four angles of a kite, they add up to 360. Remember we talked about the n minus 2 times 180 back in the days?
Oh, yeah.
So I know that four angles add up to 360. So when it asks me to find the angle measure indicated, let me call it x for right now. I'm just going to go x plus 90 plus 90 plus 135 is equal to 360. I added the four angles, and it is equal to 360. 90 plus 90 plus 135, that can be simplified, right? We can make that a smaller number. That is what, 315?
Yeah.
So we have that x plus 315 is equal to 360. All right, I just simplified that. And then we know that the plus 315, we can move it to the other side as a minus 315. So I'm going to get that x is equal to 45. And that's it. An easy way, there's an easier way to do this. One easier way is that I know the four angles add up to 360, and I know that two side angles will add up to 180, because they're 90s, 90 each. So that means that the remaining part, so these two angles, have to add up to 180. Like the top angle, like if I do stand up my kite, the top angle and the bottom angle, they add up to 180. So if you guys were to go x plus 135 equals 180, that'll be correct as well. Once again, I showed you guys the long way first because I wanted to see where the numbers came from. But since the whole thing adds up to 360, the two side angles is already 180, the remaining part, top and bottom, obviously has to be 180. So having that said, if I look at question number 2, I know 133 and x is the top and bottom angles. I know they have to add up to 180. X plus 133 equals 180. I'm going to say x has to be equal to 47. And I subtracted 133 from each side. But then, let me move things around a little. Let me take a look at something like number 4. I know that the triangle form in there is an isosceles triangle because this radius and this other radius are the same. So I used to tell you guys that on an isosceles triangle, the base angles are equal. So this corner right here is 34. I'm going to say this other corner, it's also 34. Right, because we're dealing with an isosceles triangle. Once again, I'm looking at the triangle for right now. I know on the triangle, the three angles add up to 180. 34 and 34 so far is 68. Subtract that from 180. 112, yes. So I just went 68 subtracted from 180, and I got 112. Alright, so now having that said, I'm going to look at the top and bottom angles of my kite. Because remember, you see my kite there? So the top angle is 112, the bottom angle is x. And remember, I just told you guys right now, on these kites, the top and bottom add up to 180. So what that means is that x plus 112 is 180. Remember, I'm calling it a kite, and do remember that this whole corner is 90. Part of it is 34, but the whole corner is 90. So if x plus 112 equals 180, what's x? 68. Thank you. Did that make sense? Don't get it?
If you, I did 112 plus 180 plus 360. Is that doing it right? Or because I got the same answer, but I don't know if it's like I'm doing it wrong. And it's just like this.
180 plus 112 plus x equals 360. Is that what you said? Yeah, that's fine, because you're adding the four angles.
So work every time.
You're good. You're good. Okay. Georgetta, you said you don't quite get it. Okay. So let me start. Let me start from the beginning. Let me look at the triangle only. You see this triangle?
Yeah, I know that part, 34 or whatnot. But how did you see it 112?
This is 112? Because I know the three angles of a triangle have to add up to 180.
Okay.
So 34 and 34 is 68, right? I added those two. It's 68. So for me to find out the third angle, subtract 68 from 180. I'm just going to go 180 minus 68. And that's how we got 112. So that's how we got that corner. But then remember on the kite. So now I'm going to look at the whole kite. Now looking at the kite, I said the angle at the top and the angle at the bottom, right, I'm going to call it x. Those two add up to 180. So I wrote it over here. X plus 112 equals 180. Then subtract 112 from this side. So x equals 68. Does that make sense now?
Yeah. So how do you know when to do it by 180 or 360?
If you could, like, let me go back to here. This is 112, right? If I'm looking at the kite, I'm looking at this whole corner is 90, this whole corner is 90. I know part of it is 34, but I'm looking at the kite now. So I know that's 90. So you could do it with a 360. I can just go x plus 112 plus 90 plus 90. So I'm adding the four angles equals 360. Interesting part that this 90 plus 90 is 180, right? If I subtract 180 from each side, I'm going to get x plus 112. 360 minus 180 is 180, right? So see how this is where it was earlier. That's why I said the top and bottom angles will add up to 180. And then obviously from here, subtract 112 from each side, and you get 68. Okay? All right, let's take a look at another example. 5? Okay. Looking at number 5, I know this angle is 72, right? This one given over here. How big is this angle here? 108. Good. Yes, 108. Because I know these two angles have to add up to 180. So for me to find this bottom one, I went 180 minus 72. So yes, this is 108. So now, let me look at the triangle. One angle is x. The other angle is also x, right? So they're isosceles triangle. So looking at the triangle, if you add everything, you technically have 2x plus 108 equals 180. Right? I added the three angles of the triangle. Notice how x plus x, I wrote it as 2x. So 2x plus 108 is 180. So let me subtract 108. I get 2x equals 72. So x must be equal to 36. See it now? Okay. Any questions?
Can you do number 10?
10? Sure. Looking at number 10, looking at the kite, right? For right now, I'm looking at the kite. Looking at the kite, if this bottom angle is 60, how big is this one? 120. Good. Remember, I was looking at the kite. If this bottom one is 60, the top one is 120, because I know they have to add up to 180. Now, let me look at the triangle. This angle is 120, this angle is x, this other angle is x. So looking at the triangle, if I add everything, 2x plus 120 is equal to 180. Remember, in a triangle, they add up to 180. Let me move my 120 to the other side as a minus. So 2x equals 60. Let me divide by 2. X equals 30. Number 6? Sure. All right, from number 6, let me look at the kite. I know these two angles have to add up to 180. So if you want to, for right now, let's call it x. So I have that x plus 77 is equal to 180. So x equals 103. Because remember, I said on the kite, let me draw a kite here. I know they're all 360. The kite is all 360, but I know the side angles is 180. So I know all of them are 360. Let me take away those two away. So these two, top and bottom angle, have to add up to 180. So in my kite, on number 6, the two angles that I'm adding are x and 77. X plus 77 equals 180. Subtract 77 from the other side, x equals 103. Does that make sense now? Yeah. All right. Any other questions?